Working on that. Okay, hello, good morning. My name is Cyrus Reed. I'm the Legislative and Conservation Director of the Lone Star chapter of the Sierra Club. We have about 22,000 members in Texas and about 100,000 supporters. I live in Austin, as I said. I'm a Christian, father of three, have traveled widely throughout the US and Central America and Europe and seen the devastation of our changing climate. I've been working or representing the Sierra Club since about 2005, so getting a little gray, and been advocating for clean air, clean water, and clean energy since that time in Texas. I've also seen the real threat of climate change, climate extremes, and the intensification of the weather here in Texas. In the last few years, we have lived through Hurricane Harvey, Winter Storm Uri, derechos, the Central Texas fires in Bastrop, the West Texas and Panhandle fires, multiple droughts, the Central Texas flood, lived through very hot summers here in Texas, 6 of the hottest 10 summers on record have occurred in the last 10 years. Hundreds of Texans have died in these events. Billions of dollars of properties have been lost, and trauma has been high as we wonder whether our grid will operate or our flood response will be sufficient. I and my organization, Sierra Club, are very much opposed to the proposed repeal of greenhouse gas emissions reporting, including the Subpart W provisions repealing that involve methane emissions reporting. As I think you know, no state emits more climate disrupting emissions than Texas from industry. In 2023, it's reported that there were about 670 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emitted by different sectors in Texas, more than twice the amount from California's industrial sectors. We rely on this data because, unlike some states, Texas does not have a separate greenhouse gas emissions requirement. We do not have any independent additional voluntary reporting beyond what's in federal laws, including through our GHG permitting authority, which we got fairly recently. Yet, in large part because of the efforts of our power sector and many industries, we are beginning to reduce our emissions from our embrace of low carbon emitting energy sources like solar and wind and batteries, to looking at new technologies and alternatives to traditional cement production, carbon capture, hydrogen production, steel recycling, other efforts. In fact, in the oil and gas industry, Texas's major oil and gas producers have pledged to eliminate routine flaring by 2030 and reduce fugitive emissions through leak detection repair programs and other measures. Therefore, the reporting requirements are a key component to measure the efforts of these industries to reduce those emissions and assure that the promises made by these companies actually occur. Yesterday, just to take a slight detour, I leased a new car, an electric vehicle, in part to take advantage of the incentives that go away today under the big, beautiful bill. I was pleased to be able to compare different cars and have information about their emissions. I ended up leasing a new Ford made in Mexico, the US, and Canada that does not produce any carbon emissions because it runs on a battery. I like being able to see that information. Currently, I can also look at different industries and facilities, 8,000 sources in all, and know what they are emitting, and under current regulations can also know what the natural gas and oil development sectors are emitting in terms of methane. That's a basic right to know as the public how companies are doing in their efforts to reduce emissions, but also for the companies themselves to see how they're performing and consider additional steps or changes to reduce those emissions. Satellite and other methods to measure greenhouse gas emissions are vital and very important, but it can't replace the individual reporting done by industry at the actual source. Just as I should be able to know what the emissions are of the car I drive, I should be able to see how a particular cement manufacturer, oil and gas producer, or steel manufacturers are doing in terms of all of their emissions, including greenhouse emissions. Sorry, I got to check on the time. How am I doing?
You're about done.
Okay. I will submit additional comments, but let me just say Congress directed EPA to develop these reporting requirements, and they've been in place and used by EPA, other federal and state agencies, industry, NGOs, public, and numerous other stakeholders for 15 years. It's a really bad idea to repeal it and not allow that data to be used by everyone to help reduce the actual gases that are causing the climate crisis that we're living on a daily basis. And I'll end there.
Thank you for your comment. Panelists, any follow-up comments? Okay. Okay. We'll move on to Jason Hale.